noticed that the Duchess of Edinburgh has been doing more and more engagements. But what does this mean? The Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh have always been senior royals, but they haven't been doing this many engagements before. And today in this video we're going to explain why they may be doing more engagements and what this means for the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh going forward. When it comes down to the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, they've always been seen as very hard-working royals, except from the fact that their engagements have not been posted as much as, say, the Prince and Princess of Wales, maybe the King and the Queen, and the Princess Royal. So lots of people don't actually see a lot of their work, but they do a lot of engagements. The Duchess of Edinburgh have definitely stepped up to really high levels this year, especially since the King was diagnosed with cancer back, I think it was in January at some point, February time he was. And then obviously a couple of months later the Princess of Wales announced she had cancer, and then a month ago the Princess of Wales announced that she had completed chemotherapy. And through all of that, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh have actually stepped up and taken on a lot of, engagements and helped the royal family out with, cancellations of engagements and stuff like that, because many of the royals have had to put their health first this year, and that also includes the Princess Royal, who also sadly had a fall this year and had to take a number of weeks off to recover. But we all hope that the King and the Princess of Wales both make a full recovery very soon, and we hope the Princess Royal is feeling much better now after her fall. The Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, they've obviously done a number of engagements. They worked for the late Queen and now they're working for the King, and they have stepped up really a lot this year. They've really done a lot of engagements. They've actually caught the eye of the press. Now usually with lesser known senior royals, there is obviously news about them, but it usually comes out 2 or 3 days, or maybe the day after their engagement. With the Princess Royal, it comes out the day after the engagement, or 2 days after the engagement, or if it's posted by the royal family, you usually get the updates from the Princess Royal on the royal family's official Instagram, Facebook and websites and stuff like that. When it comes down to the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, they seem to get a lot of their engagements, and then they sometimes don't come out to the day after. We still have there's still not a lot of live news with the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, but there's been more this year, especially since they've been out and about more, doing more engagements and getting involved in stuff, and that's the same for the Princess Royal. We've had same day news for her as well. You're probably wondering why the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh and the Princess Royal don't have news the same day. Now, I think it's mainly because there are senior royals before them and they're of maybe a higher interest. But lots of royal fans are still interested in the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh or the Princess Royal because they do a lot of work. So recently the press has actually upped the amount of coverage that they do on the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh and the Princess Royal, because people are starting to get more and more interested in the lesser known royals as well as the senior royals that do majority of the royal work. Probably all know that the Princess Royal is actually the UK's hardest working royal, so she does do a lot of the royal engagements, and actually over the years the press have actually bumped up the amount of engagements they cover for the Princess Royal, because she just does so many. I see a list of royal engagements and it's just the Princess Royal, the Princess Royal, the Princess Royal, the Princess Royal. She does like engagement Monday to Friday, sometimes Monday to Sunday, so she's a really hard-working royal. Yes, going back to the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, this week especially, this week just gone, so by the time you see this, this will be last week. We obviously saw the Duchess of Edinburgh. She was out on a 3-day engagement, and we got live coverage of this, which was really nice for royal reporters like myself that like to report on it the day we get it. But it was also nice because it just showed that she is of a lot of interest to the public still, and I think that especially this year, they've shown to be really strong and be like the strength of the royal family through a very tough year for the royal family. The Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh have shown their strength and their willingness to come forward as more senior royals, especially since the King has had to sadly stop most of his engagements, and the Princess Royal the Princess Royal did have to stop some of her engagements for 2 weeks, and then the Princess of Wales obviously is still only doing a couple of engagements if she feels able to, So the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh have actually come forward, and I think a lot of people have seen that and they're like, oh, they're coming forward and they're willing to take on a lot of the work in the royal family, which also includes the Princess Royal. So the coverage of them has gone up because, you know, people are like, we want to get live updates of what engagements they're doing. Which again is really nice because we've not really had that a lot with the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh and the Princess Royal. I personally think that going forward for the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, I think we could definitely see them do more and more and more engagements alongside senior royal, like other senior royals, like, you know, very senior royals like the Prince, Princess Wales and the King and the Queen, and the Princess Royal. I think we could see them all do, you know, more engagements. I think we could possibly see the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh doing more like state events where they're helping with state openings, such as they helped with the Japan state opening and stuff like that. So I think that we could definitely see more and more of the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh taking that centre stage within the royal family. So I think people are, you know, more and more people are starting to see them, more and more people over the past few months, because they've been at centre stage of the royal family, because they've been covering a lot of the events for the King and the Princess of Wales, because they've been unable to do it because of their health issues. I think that the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh have diligently come forward. The Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh have taken on so many engagements to sort of cover for the King and the Princess of Wales. They've taken some of that work burden off the Princess of Wales and the King and allowed them to forget about work for a bit and, you know, hopefully, you know, go and, you know, focus on their recovery and stuff like that. Which I think is just really, really selfless of the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. We've seen them, you know, they've been covering quite a lot of events this year that might have been done by the King or the Princess of Wales. As for the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh and their children, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, they sort of have a role a bit like the Princess of Wales, where they want their children to have a normal childhood, but whereas the Princess of Wales will share the old snap of George, Charlotte and Louis, you know, doing something or playing, or for a birthday snap. We don't really get that with the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh's children, because the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, I think that they are you know, more like giving their children the upbringing where they're not the, you know, James, the Earl of Wessex, who's currently doing his first year of sixth form, and Lady Louise, Mountbatten Windsor, she is I think she's in her last year at university, if I remember rightly. But you know, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh have said to them, you know, I think they've said to them that, you know, you might have to get a job and maybe help out the royals, you know, every so often. Going forward, I would love to see maybe Lady Louise and James, Earl of Wessex, perhaps take on a couple of engagements when they're much older and they finish their schooling and stuff. But I do think that they will focus on their own, you know, sort of interests and stuff like that, such as, you know, Zara, Mike. They do, you know, Mike does his rugby podcast, and then Zara does her equestrian stuff. So I think that Lady Louise and James will do royal stuff, you know, they'll help out with the roles and stuff, but I don't think we'll see them taking on full engagements. I'm sure that they'll have patronages and stuff like that, so I think we could definitely see Lady Louise and James, Earl of Wessex take on a couple of engagements and maybe do some solo engagements, and perhaps they'll join those engagements with their own passions, you know. Lady Louise seems to love carriage riding, and James, we don't really see him a lot, but he seems to like fishing and stuff like that, so you know, we could see them going forward doing some of their own stuff, but also helping out the royals as well. And also, if you look further down the line of succession, you'll see that all of the royals mainly do their own thing while also helping out the royal family during special events and stuff like that, and their children also join in those special events. So yes guys, that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button, also press subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching everyone, bye!